Hi, this is Steve from appsplanation.com, and today we're taking a look at a little application called Spaceward Ho. The game actually is about 20 years old. This is 2013, and it dates back to the early 90s. I used to play it on like old like Apple IIc computers and stuff like that in school. So, long history, great turn-based strategy game. It's just recently been ported to mobile operating systems like iOS and Android. I'm going to actually do two versions of this. This is the iPhone version. There'll also be an iPad version of this video. The gameplay is the same, but the layout and views are slightly different, so I figured I'd just suck it up and do both versions. So let's take a look at here. This is the start screen. This is what you're going to see when you first fire it up. You've got three buttons here: New Game, Continue, and Help. Why don't we just start with Help? I'll tap into that. And as you can see, it's going to pull up a help file that you can just use your finger to scroll through. Gives you some good basic information, not real super deep though. And frankly, this is a game that's kind of difficult to break down into a text guide. We actually will have one on appsplanation.com, so you can let us know how you feel about that. But if you need something to quickly refer to in the game, you've got one in here. Also, we have the continue button right here, and basically anytime you close the game out by tapping the home screen button on an iPhone or an iPad, it's going to bring you back to the home screen, and it'll freeze the state of the game that you were in, so you don't have to go in and save anything. It'll just automatically do that. And if I tap in here, you can see that I have a number of save games already in there. We're just gonna, this is a quick start guide basically. Normally we would do a beginner's video on a lot of things, but I don't really think there's a beginner level for this game. There's a big learning curve in it, and I think the easiest way to learn is just to sort of sit and watch somebody play through it a little bit, and it'll save you some trial and error when you're first starting out. So we're going to tap on New Game, and it brings us to the setup screen. And I'm actually not even going to mess with this right now. I'll go over this in strategy videos. We're actually going to start, I had it on Ring, but we're going to start on Cluster Galaxy, which I believe is the default thriving for your home system. Relatively dense and relatively small galaxy, and setting a bad guy's intelligence is not too smart. But even on the default relatively easy settings, it's still, particularly if you go in cold and you don't have any help at all, it could take you several games before you really got the hang of it. So just going to tap start, and we're just going to jump right into a game. And this is the main game screen. As you'll notice, the first thing you see is a little planet with a white cowboy hat on it. Three little icons next to the planet, and a bunch along the side here, a few along the bottom, and an information screen up here. Just sort of get us oriented here. If we go in and pinch zoom, it's going to actually zoom out. And we'll just keep doing that, and get an idea of where we're at relative to the rest of the worlds. And cluster is a good thing to learn on. Right now this is set for 4 players, so or 4 opponents I should say, which makes 5 players total. And as you notice, this is my home cluster, you would call it, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 more. So there's 4 opponents, and they're all basically like us, just starting on a single planet. And all of these planets that actually surround that one should be devoid of any opponents. No matter what galaxy type you're in, the same basic configuration is used at the start of the game, so you do have time to sort of explore and get your resources built up and stuff like that before you start doing battle with other players. And really it works out kind of like chess, kind of how that plays out. You have, an opening game where really it's sort of about just setting yourself up, getting your pieces where you want them before you actually start going into battle and getting into it with your opponents, which would be the mid game where you're actually exchanging pieces in chess. And in this game you'd be fighting over planets. And as things start to wind down, resources get pretty thin near the end of the game. You have what would be, just like in chess, the end game, where very small mistakes can cost you the game. So each three different areas kind of have their own different strategic think behind them, and we'll get into that deeper in the strategy videos, but just sort of give you a basic idea of what you're doing. And as turn-based strategy, what we're doing is we're going to make a number of decisions, issue some commands, decide how to spend some money, and click in turn, and all of our opponents will have done the same thing, and it'll calculate the results of all of those decisions, and then we'll have another turn. So we're going to zoom in here by doing sort of a reverse pinch, and this is our home planet. This is where we are starting. If we go up to the top here, this is information about the current highlighted planet. If we go over, I'm going to go over to this planet here and tap on that one, and you'll notice the information up here has changed, and it's saying right now that that planet is unexplored. Any planet with a question mark around it is unexplored. So until we actually send a spaceship to these planets, we don't know what's on them. It could be a sort of a desert, barren world that we don't want to live on. It could be a beautiful place. There could be a fleet of enemy ships there. Until we actually physically go there with one of our ships, we're not going to know that information. And that is sort of the basic gameplay here, is building ships, sending them to the other planets, finding out what's there, and then making decisions about what to do from that point. Excuse me. So I'm going to go back, tap on our home planet here, and kind of show you what's up here. This number to the left, 51,000, is the amount of money that this planet generates per turn. 750k is 750,000 is the population of that planet currently. The more people, the more money it's making. 72 Fahrenheit is the temperature, and it's a fairly important piece of information. You can change the temperature of any planet, but it takes time and money to do so. The second one is gravity. 1.0 is basically 1 Earth gravity. So if you get too much high or too much low relative to that, it becomes very difficult to maintain a population and have a profitable planet. You'll always be able to change the temperature to relatively comfortable. I think eventually all planets will go to 72 Fahrenheit if you spend enough money to do it, but it's not necessarily going to increase the population significantly or give you a lot of money. So keep an eye on the gravity when you're deciding whether or not to colonize a planet, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Metal is a very important commodity in this game. It's what you use to build spaceships with, and the more metal a planet has on it, the better. And why don't we just do this first? I'm going to go over, and you'll notice right here on the left side, there's a little right-facing arrow. And this basically pulls up the current fleet that is surrounding or orbiting the planet that you're at. And off to the right here, you'll notice there's 1, 2, 3 blue dots, and that means there are 3 ships and or 3 fleets currently orbiting. So they give you a quick visual idea of what's there. We're just going to go ahead. We're going to tap on this right-facing arrow, and it's going to pull up another window. And these are the fleets that are on the planet. 1 colony ship, 1 scout ship, and another scout ship. And in order to put these into action, you just tap on the ship and then drag it towards a planet that you would like to visit. So in this case, we're just going to take the colony ship. I'm going to tap on it and start dragging it. And as soon as I get to that planet, you'll notice we've got a white line there in the numeral 4. And when you see a white line, that means that ship is capable of traveling that distance. If you see a red line, and we'll do it this way to this planet up here. Oh, actually, it's not far enough away. We'll try this one down here. So we can't travel 7 units of distance. We can travel 6 with this ship. But we're actually just going to go to the closest planet here, number 4. So we grab it, drag it over, look for the white line, and then let go. And you'll hear the little yaw sound, and that means a flight plan has been scheduled for that particular ship. The line is green, which means you've got an active flight plan. Scout ships actually start with a little more range. They always have 3 more range than your technological level is currently at. So to start the game, you're at a range level of 6, and scouts will actually be able to go 9. But we're just going to yank them over to the closest planet to us. That one there, that one there. So we've done that. If we hit in turn now, they'll begin their journey. But we're actually going to show you a couple other things before we do that. So we're going to go up here and just tap and X that off so we don't have to look at it. The one challenge on the iPhone screen is it's pretty small, so to pull up your information screens and play at the same time is very difficult. So you're going to have to pop them open and then close them and then go back to navigating and doing stuff like that. In the upper right corner here we have that's a graph. There's not going to be any information in it to start because basically nothing's happened yet, but as you go through time you can sort of see how well you're doing in terms of technology and money and stuff like that. Personally, don't use it much myself, and that might be a strategic error, but I'll let people figure out whether it's useful on an individual basis. Most important screen is this one on the top here. It looks like a little dollar symbol. That's your money screen, and we're going to go ahead and tap on that. And as you can see, it's pulling up pulling up the total amount of metal we have on hand currently. And this is irrespective of how many planets you have. So if you have 20 planets, it's not counting up how much metal is on each planet, it's counting up how much we've actually mined so far. So this is metal that we can actually use immediately. Savings, this is how much cash we have to start, and total income we have, and that relates to the amount of money our homeworld is currently making. When you start on a thriving world, you're going to be making that amount of money. If you want to challenge yourself and go to a world that is a little bit more barren to start, that number is going to be a lot lower, like 10,000 or something along those lines. And stepping down from here, we see we've got, these are our current technology levels. Range at 6, speed at 2, weapons at 2, shields at 2, mini at 0, and radical. So the bottom two, not real important at the start of the game, but they can become very important near the end of the game. Radical is sort of randomly increasing different technologies you have, or giving you different benefits like a lot of money, or the ability to build biological spaceships that don't require any metal to build, things like that. You can't control where that money is really going, though. It's sort of random chance. But if you don't spend it at all, you could wind up falling behind near the end of the game. So you always want to be spending some of your money on that. Mini miniaturizes the ships that you're building, so they require less metal to build. So again, very important later in the game, not so much early in the game. And the way you adjust these is to just tap on one of these bars and start moving it left or right. let's just grab weapons here. So it's currently at 2. I'm going to drag that over. And the way it's set up here, if I hit intern right now, I'm going to spend significantly more on weapons technology than I'm spending on all these other ones. Which is a strategy, probably not a great one. So we're actually going to start, we're going to want to get shields up there, roughly even. Whoops. And this is a little bit of a challenge on an iPhone screen to get this to work exactly the way you want it to. There we go. So close enough. It doesn't have to be exact, and frankly you can't really control it that exactly either. Range I'm not super concerned with right now. This is just kind of a test game. Speed is a lot more important than you might think. When you get into battles with other ships, the ship that has the higher speed rating actually gets to attack first. So, while we probably don't want to spend exactly as much as we are on weapons and shields, we don't want to totally ignore that either, so we'll just pull it down a little bit over range there. Mini, again, not super concerned with right away. We'll pull that down a little bit, and radical a little bit. And while you can't dial these things in here exactly, and basically what's happening, you have a certain amount to spend every turn, and all these sliders are doing adjusting the percentage you're spending on each one of those. You can't spend any more or less than you have per turn to spend on it. So this is a good setup for that, and I'm going to tap the money button again right here, and that'll shut that screen off. The next one is news, and I'll actually show you that after we hit intern here and show you how that works. Second most important one is this little planet button down here. This is, I guess you would call it your world screen. And if we tap that, along the bottom, every time you take over a planet, it's going to show you how much profit or loss you're getting on each individual planet, how much you're spending to either terraform, change the temperature, or mine metal on that planet. Right now we're still mining metal from our homeworld here, and that's why there's no number here, but as soon as all this metal's gone, this will turn into a straight profit number. And it's a good idea to keep track of stuff like that, see how much the planets are actually costing you, because you can actually put yourself in a position where you're going negative and start eating into your savings, and then suddenly you can't build anything. The top two buttons is how much of your income is going to savings, or top two sliders I should say. How much is going to savings and how much are you spending on technology. You start with a little bit of money in the beginning of the game, so I'm actually going to tap on the savings slider and just drag it. And same principle as the technology sliders, it's going to increase the other two. Yeah, about right there. And it's going to be a while before I run into other players, so this isn't a huge deal at this point, but the sooner usually you can increase your tech, the better. So I'm going to actually drag the planet spinning down a little bit too, and spin as much as I can to increase our levels. So that's set up the way we want. I'm just going to come back over, tap that, and get rid of that screen. And along the bottom here is the intern button. This little gear symbol here that brings you to your settings and also return to main menu, and there's a couple game related things you can change in there, and we'll get to that when it's time. The little sort of spy like glasses and hat guy, if you tap on that, that shows you sort of how you're doing relative to the other players in the game. Person on top is the person with the most resources, and descending order from there. So it's all we can really do for this turn, so we're just going to go down here and tap in turn, and you'll notice here it pulled up the next year. Right now it's set to skip 10 years at a time. And if we tap on this, this is going to show us different news items, tips, other things like that. Just keep tapping it to get through. And as you notice, it pulls up a radical menu. It doesn't tell you or give you an option to show what you're going to spend money on, but it will give you an option of something to not spend money on. Personally, I rarely, if ever, mess with this, so I'm just going to hit the check mark here and get out of it. Go over to my little news window and tap that again. And now that's gone. Now, there might have been important information in there, and that's why you have, up over here on the right side, you've got the news tab. If we tap on that, all the same information that we just went through is sitting right there. Now, I'm going to tap out of that, just to hit that button to shut that screen down. Let's come over here, and we can see how far our ships have traveled on their journey. The higher your speed technology, the faster they'll make that jump. I think this was like a 4 or 5 in between these two. No, it was 4. So obviously if we had a technology level of 4 on speed, it would actually make that journey in 1 turn. But not a lot we can do at this point, so we're just going to hit end turn again. Read our news. And as you can see, just gives us a little notice our weapons technology has increased a little bit, and also our shields technology. Also, our first ship has reached a planet, and you'll notice instead of a nice white hat, it's got a crappy brown hat there. And crappy brown hat is just a quick visual indicator that that planet isn't particularly nice. It's got very little metal on it, as we can see, at 1899. Hopefully you want to be, in the 10,000 plus range. That's a nice amount of metal. Although even sort of in the 5 to 10 range can get important different times of the game or in different setups. Temperature is 271. Negative 271, and the gravity is 0.13. So what this tells us about this planet is we don't really want it. I think anything under 0.40 in terms of gravity means that planet will never be profitable. So just from there, any money we spend there is basically wasted. If we are on that planet, though, we will be spending money to terraform it, so we'll be lowering or increasing the temperature in this case until it gets to near 72 Fahrenheit. But unfortunately, even with a nice temperature, because the gravity sucks, no one's going to live there. We're certainly going to hang out here until we collect this metal, though we're already there. We've already kind of colonized it. So let's tap again in here and go to the next. It says we've colonized that planet. One of our scout ships has landed on this planet, and you'll notice there's no hat. So the only way you get the hat there is if you've sent a colony ship. So you've actually sent a population to live there. The scout ship will tell you information about it, but that's basically all it does. So again, 0.47 gravity, so eventually this will become profitable. It'll do so fairly slowly, though. The closer you are to 1.0 gravity, the faster that happens. Temp, not great. Take a while to terraform. And there is a fair to middling amount of metal on the planet. This early in the game, we'll probably just go and collect it, just to collect it. Let's tap again. And it's going to take a little while before this one gets here. And if we go back up to this planet here, let's highlight it. And I'm actually going to slide and drag the screen down so we can see it. And then we go over to our fleet button here on the left. Tap it. And since we just landed on this planet, we cannot move this ship again. It will take one full turn for it to refuel, basically. So if I drag it out of there, As you can see, nowhere do I drag this. It's going to let me travel. So, once again, nothing we can really do here, so we're just going to go down to intern and tap that. And take a look at our news. And not a lot going on. Get rid of that screen. Still another turn probably before the ship arrives. But now we can go ahead and move this colony ship. So let's go ahead and do that. Again, we could probably, if I tap down here, go to this planet. You know, it will eventually become profitable. Does have some metal on it. Just for giggles, though, I'm actually going to do something different and actually just travel to this planet Golem up here. So let's pull up our colony ship, tap it, drag it out, and release. Oh, one thing that has popped up, you'll notice this is the planet that's highlighted. Currently we're negative 7,500 every turn that we occupy that planet, and that's money that's being spent to terraform, and that's money that's being spent to mine metal. You can adjust how much you want to spend on each with this slider here. All the way to the right, all it's doing is mining metal off that planet, which is the correct thing to be doing on this planet, since clearly we'll never be able to keep a population on it. But assuming there was better gravity here, we can drag that slider over to the left, and all the way to the left, all it's doing is changing the temperature. It's not mining any metal. But in this case, it had the right default setup, so we'll just drag that back over to where it was. And tap out of my fleet so I can see a little better. And real quick, why don't we check in on the money button and look for what's changed there. As you can see, it gave us the notice in the news that our weapons and shields had increased. So when we do build new ships, we can build ships that have weapons of that caliber. Our metal has increased because we've been mining. Our savings have increased because we've been saving, not a lot, but a little bit. You'll notice our income has gone down, though. We started with a little over 50,000 per turn, and that's the profit from our original homeworld. But now that we've colonized a planet, it's actually deducting 7,500. So the actual amount of money this planet is making has gone up a little bit, and then minus what this other planet is costing us gets us down to this figure. And actually, why don't we do this? I'll go back over to here, tap that, get rid of that screen, and we'll go down to the world button here, tap that, and as we can tell from a quick glance with these blue sliders, we know it's spending money to mine on Coxa and Inif, if that's how you pronounce that correctly. Very soon this will turn just straight profit once all the metal's gone, and as soon as the metal's gone here, this will turn into a negative number. So we'll just keep an eye on that just so you can see how that looks. And I got 2 ships on the way. Let's just hit intern. Go through our news, and it gives us a little notice. The game knows that this is a crappy planet, and it's suggesting we leave, which we will. I don't know about this turn. I'll decide whether to do that or not. I'm going to sort of zoom out and see if I have another planet I can travel to in this area from the colony ship. And so our shields have gone up again. And our other colony ship has landed on a planet. It's got decent gravity, so this will be a profitable planet. Crappy temperature, but that'll change quickly, and again, a fair amount of metal on it. So we are going to want to colonize this planet. So let's zoom out a little bit. Right here. So currently, I want to know right now whether once this colony ship arrives here, whether I can directly travel to this planet. And the way you do that is just highlight that planet and then tap on it, and then drag towards the planet you want to go to, and it'll give you an idea of the range. So our colony ship does actually have a range of 6, so we're going to go ahead and keep heading in that direction. But we are going to want to take over this one here. This one again has decent gravity and everything, so what we're going to do is tap on the next closest planet, and you'll notice in the upper right it gives us the plus option, which is to add ships. So I'm going to tap that. It's going to pull up our ship building screen. We already have a couple of ship types that we start the game with, the 1-1 Scout, and these numbers are the weapons and shields. Dreadnought, you'll see nothing. This is a very powerful ship that takes a while to build up the resources to build. Fighters, haven't built any yet. We do come with a default one when you're on a thriving world. A tanker, which is a way to refuel your ships without having to be on a colonized planet in order to do it. And satellites, which are defense-only weapons. They can't travel from planet to planet, but they can defend your planet from other ships. So these are a fairly important ship type as the game goes on. But what we're going to do, we're actually just going to build another kind of colony ship. So if we tap on the Santa Maria here, it's going to build up sort of or pull up a ship that's defaulted to the exact same statistics. We're going to tap on a colony ship up there, and when we do that, it pulls up a ship that's automatically created to our highest tech level. Now first we have to develop it, and that's a one-turn instantaneous thing, so as soon as we build it, we've developed it. We don't have to wait for that, but it does take quite a bit of money. In this case, as you can see, 94,000, and that's the cost to produce a single unit of that ship. Oops. And it gives you an option of how many to build, and this is going to change depending on how much metal you have on hand and how much money you have on hand to actually build it. It'll adjust how many you can build. Over on the right here, you'll notice it gives us total cost to make this one ship, and that's development cost plus the well, I should say it's the cost to build one plus the development cost sort of combined, and then total metal it takes to build that one. So colony ships take quite a bit of metal, as you can see, and the bottom number is how much metal we have on hand right now, so we have that for a quick reference, so we can decide whether or not we want to do that. In this case we do, so we're just going to hit the check mark here, and that'll automatically build one, and then we need to go back to the X here and X to get out of that screen. And then you'll notice we've got a blue dot here, so we know we have a colony ship there. We're going to go over to the right arrow to pull up the screen for that. And we're just going to grab that and drag it over to YED. And let go. And tap out of that screen. And not a lot else to do here, so we're just going to hit intern. And look at our news. And we'll get a warning again. It'll keep warning us that basically that planet's costed us money. We've taken all the metal out of this planet. So basically every turn we're just spending 7,500 uselessly. So actually this turn we'll abandon that planet. We'll show you how to do that. And our other colony ship has colonized Gollum. As you can see, white hat, so this is a good planet. Decent gravity. I think it has to be above 0.40 and like under 2.0 in order to sustain a decent population. Temp's already fairly close to decent, and not a lot of metal, but this will be a decently profitable planet fairly quickly. And right now, so we're going to have to wait a turn for this ship here to refuel. This other ship's going to land on here and colonize it in the next turn. And so let's just hit intern. once again the warning. Oop, I forgot to abandon it in the last one. Looks like our weapons technology has increased. And we've colonized Yed. Again, the white hat signifying this is a decent planet, as we already decided based on going over the information. So we're gonna send the colony ship from Gollum to Splutsgaral. And how we do that, again, tap on the planet to bring that up, and tap on the left icon, or left right arrow icon to get up our ship screen. And this is sometimes hard to do on the iPhone screen. There we go. And just tap that, drag her over, and set that flight plan. And so now let's work on evacuating Coxa. And actually, first let's pull up our world view here. It gives you a couple different ways to do it. You can do it actually, I think this might be the only way to do it on the iPhone, but at any rate, you see a little X out the hat symbol there. So if we right here, so if we tap on that, it's going to abandon the planet. And as you can see, we've added a few more, Yed and Gollum. And you notice the sliders are green, so that means most of the money is being sent to terraform those planets, not to mine metal. Enough, we're still spending a little money to finish off how much metal's on there. And savings in tech are fine, so let's tap the world to get rid of that. Now, we're going to evacuate this planet. The trouble, though, if we evacuate it, is we're not going to know what's there anymore. An enemy could drop a whole fleet of ships there, and we're going to have no idea. So in order to give us like a little bit of a heads up that something's happening, we're actually going to leave a ship defending this planet before we evacuate it. So we'll be gone, but we'll still have a military presence there. So we're going to tap the plus button. In this case, we don't want to spend a lot of resources on this, so we're just going to throw up a satellite and tap that. And as you notice, it doesn't have speed or range, it can't travel. Weapons are 4, shields are 4, no mini yet. And we could just leave 1. I'm actually just going to make 2. And go ahead and hit the check mark here, and then back out of it. And you notice whenever we highlight the planet to the left of it, it shows how many satellites. It won't show up in the normal fleet view. And so now we've done that, and we got to remember to evacuate. So we're going to go to our world button, pull up, and then hit this button here. Whoops. Hit this button here, and it's going to ask us if we want to evacuate, and we're going to tap the check mark to say yes. And close our world screen, and now when we hit in turn, our hat will disappear. We still will have a couple satellites there, so if a ship does land there, it will have to do battle with those, and we'll get an alert that something's going on there. Let's go through our news and zoom in a little bit and sort of take stock in where we're at. So, now that I've been on Yed, I should be able to move the scout ship that is on there. We had sort of used up all the fuel on it. I'm going to tap that and tap our fleet screen button. And tap on our scout ship and drag it down to the next closest planet here. And send that on a flight path. And we don't really want this planet here because it's crappy, but I'm going to send the colony ship there anyways just to get closer to this planet here. If this one turns out to be crappy, then I know I should send the colony ship here next. And as you just saw, we can always abandon the planet, so it's not that big deal. You just don't want to hang on to a lot of planets that are costing you money, because that's money you won't be spending on technology or on savings. And I'm going to go over here and stand turn again. And not a lot we can do here, but we have colonized a few planets. This is a good time to go up, and you want to do this fairly frequently. Check the money button and see where we're at. Because as you colonize planets until they become profitable, your per turn income is going to go down. And it's one of the problems with sort of growing too fast early in the game is you spend all your money on planets and you spend no money on technology. So if you do have a fairly aggressive opponent, you could wind up getting overwhelmed fairly quickly if you're not careful. So this is a decent amount, so not too worried. But once again, you want to kind of keep going back and checking here and there. Metal, 28,000. Not great. We haven't really landed on another planet that has, say, 20,000 plus metal on it, and there's always a few floating around in your home system typically, and we want to get to those planets and get that metal as soon as possible. Excuse me. And we'll just leave the rest of our stuff as is, tap out of the money screen, go ahead and hit end turn again. And we'll notice that this planet has run out of metal, and our original planet has run out of metal. And this one we just colonized, although it has crappy gravity, does have a lot of metal on it. It has 16,000 metal, so that's good. We're going to hang on there and get all of that metal off of that planet before we abandon it. And so we've just landed. We can't move these ships again. Again, if I really wanted to play a rapid early game, I could build more colony ships and more scouts and just figure out everything that's around me right now. But the way the game works, particularly in a cluster galaxy, I'm going to go ahead and tap on Golem here and then drag over to one of the other cluster planets. Do it like that. A range of 10. So it takes a little bit to build up to that range. So we know we've got a decent window here before we actually have to fight any other players. So when that's the case, I'm usually pretty slow and steady. Just want to make sure I'm building up my tech as high as possible and just sort of explore the planets at my leisure. And also not spending a lot of money building ships that ultimately will be not backwards so much, but I mean they're low on the technological curve. They'll have weak weapons compared to the ships of the opponents by the time we actually wind up meeting. So I wind up throwing a lot of metal into ships that won't be able to defend themselves later. So there's no point in really doing that from my perspective. And let's just end turn again. Shields have gone up. So now we found another 20,000 plus metal planet. So good news. It's a crappy planet, but it has good metal. So we're going to colonize it. And fortunately, we've got our colony ship sitting right here on this planet. And we're just going to send it right now. And we do have a scout ship, so we might as well just send it just for giggles over to here. And up top here, we have a colony ship that should be refueled. So we can just grab that and drag it to the next closest planet. And we're going to hit end turn. And go through our news. And end turn again. Weapons have gone up. And range increased. And you heard that sound, which is a that ooh sound, which basically means good planet when you hear that. And it makes a bleh sound when you land on a crappy planet. And the reason it's good, again, the gravity's good, 1.14. Take a while to terraform it because the temp's fairly high. And no metal, but once again, this will be a money-making planet eventually. And our scout ship landed on this planet right here. We heard the bleh sound, so we know it's crappy right off the bat. Gravity's bad. Temp's okay, but again, gravity's bad, so it'll never be profitable. And there is 5,300 metal on it, which we're probably going to get anyways, so we'll probably wind up colonizing this planet just to extract that metal. And so what next? Well, as you notice, we've just colonized a couple more worlds. So again, this is a good point to go back to the money button here, and let's see how we're doing. And as you can see, our income has dropped precipitously. We had close to 40,000 per turn last time, and now we've colonized a couple more worlds, and suddenly we're down to 10,000. So that's fine, we're not negative, but currently we probably don't want to colonize any more planets because we will go negative, and we won't be saving money, and we won't be spending any money on technology. So let's tap out of that and go to our world view and see if we can get an updated look at that. And as you can see, our home world is finally just showing straight profit, so we've pulled all the metal off of it. Got a few planets we're terraforming that will become profitable when they're red, and then the brown ones are never going to become profitable. So eventually we will have to abandon them, but these both have a decent amount of metal on them, so we're just going to keep spending the money on it and extracting that metal. Again, an extremely important resource once we start fighting other players, so get the metal out as soon as you can, I think it would be my advice. And so let's just hit intern here and pull up this screen. I just want to get an idea. I do want to clear up some resources. So how much metal do we have left on here? If I was in a bind, because this is 0.47, it will become profitable, but it's a fairly crappy planet all around. It's never going to be super profitable. And frankly, I'm more concerned right now about just sucking the metal off of it, and then I might even evacuate it for the time being. So I want to go to the slider, which is almost all the way to the left, so almost all the money per turn is being spent to terraform it. And that's not something we want to do here. We want to just suck all the metal off so we can abandon it. So I'm going to drag that slider all the way to the right. And go down and hit intern again. And there, intern. And we can sort of watch here visually as it sucks the metal out of the planet up here. If you just keep an eye on the right there as we keep hitting intern. So just quick blew through a few turns. Let's go back to the money button. Let's take a look again here. So as you can see, all of a sudden our income shot up. We got a lot more metal now. We've almost doubled the amount of metal we have from several turns ago. And our savings is fairly low at the moment. As we get closer and closer to battling other players, we're going to want to correct that. And we might even do that this turn. So let's actually just tap out of that. Let's go to our world button, take a look at that. And yeah, very low savings rate. And again, we don't want to sacrifice the tech spending, but we can probably back it off a little bit, or better yet, let's just grab the savings slider so that it pulls everything else down equally. And we could decrease the amount of money we're spending to terraform and stuff like that. Again, we're probably several turns away yet from running into enemy forces, so let's just leave it alone for now. Tap the world button to close, and we're just going to go down to intern. And I'm going to hit intern again. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to let a couple of these other planets become profitable before I start colonizing some more again. So. Alright, so Farood has run out of metal, and like I was stating a few turns ago, let's abandon it then. Well, let's do our little defensive trick here. Tap the plus button, and throw a couple satellites on here. We're going to pull them up to the max defensive range. Just build 2 of them, and then tap the check mark to close. And so now I've got 2 satellites there. I just have to remember to always go over here to the world button and hit our little X out hat button here to evacuate it. And world button to close. And we're going to hit intern. And as you can see, we just abandoned a planet, and we had one that just turned a straight profit. So this planet's been fully terraformed, and it's also had all the metal stripped off of it. So if we go to the world button now, it's not showing a profit number yet here. So it is making profit, but most of the profit on the planet is actually just going straight to fixing the temperature on it. Once this again gets down into the low 70s, then eventually it'll turn to a profit number like that. But at least it's not costing us money at this point. It's using its own resources now to terraform itself, so it's not draining our resources. So let's tap on world button to close, and then go back up to our money button and see what abandoning one and having one turn profitable has done to our money supply. And as you can see, it's jumped up about 10,000 here, basically in one turn. So that's good. We're increasing our savings rate, and now we have almost 60,000 metal. So we're doing very well there. Tap to close that. So now I can start thinking about maybe colonizing another planet. We've got this planet here, which is crappy, but in order to save resources, I'm just going to hop this colony ship from over to there and then just abandon this one. So let's go back to our cab, go to our left button, and drag our colony ship over. And now you notice here that I actually can't make that journey with that ship. It's got a range of 7, or a range of 6 rather, and the distance is 7. And frankly, this stage in the game, this ship is actually getting kind of old. So why don't we actually just scrap this one and turn it back into metal? And I'm actually going to do the same with the scout ship there as well. Once again, it's very, very weak. We're getting close to where we'll run into other players. And if they destroy those ships, I basically don't have a shot at recovering that metal at all. So I'm better off upgrading at this point. And you'll notice right here in the middle, a little twisty arrows here. This is your sort of fleet organization menu, and I'm going to tap on that. And both ships are in here. To scrap, I want to tap the scrap button on the bottom left here. And tap into the one I want to scrap, that one right there. And only let you do one at a time, so I have to go hit scrap again. And we're going to scrap that one right there. And also in this view, if we have multiple ships, we can group them together, or also split groups of them apart. So this is just basically a fleet management window. But right now we're just going to X out of here and go down and hit intern just to show you what that looks like. And as you can see, we scrapped the scout. We got 324 metal for that, and 2,800 metal out of that colony ship. So let's see here. So we could probably rebuild it from our cab here, but It's really kind of a crappy planet, so let's just leave a satellite around it. Tap one of those. We'll leave two satellites. And X out of that, and go to our world screen here, and we're just going to abandon it. And close the world screen. And we'll actually start off from this planet here. Hit our plus sign. Go and build another colony ship. Go ahead and increase the range and the weapons and everything. And as you'll notice, we've got flashing red numbers here. So this is actually more expensive than we can afford right now based on the amount of savings we have. And there's two ways around that. We can go down here and allow debt. But again, this stage of the game, it's not really critical. Let's X out. And X out of there. And let's pull up the world screen. And we'll just go and we'll just crank up our savings here for a couple of turns. So drag the savings slider about right there. And then we'll click to get rid of that screen. Go back to our money screen here just to kind of get our bearings. Taking in 34,000 a turn. Let's hit in turn, leave the screen up, and then we can see how that number changes based on what we just did. So as you can see, our savings went up about 20,000. And let's hit in turn again. Shields went up. And again, about 20,000. And let's just do one more in turn. So now we should be able to build that colony ship. Let's kick out of that.
Very good.
Come back over to inif here. And go ahead and we'll tap that and tap that. And as you can see, total development cost 95,300, so we can build one of those. Let's go ahead and do that. X out. Pull up our fleet screen. And let's hit just to be thorough, let's go ahead and colonize this one, even though it's kind of a crappy planet. Then at least we'll be able to leave some defenses there in case our system does get attacked here in the near future. Looks like we do have a scout there still, so we'll want to go there and scrap it, and we won't be able to do that unless we're actually around a colonized planet. Although we can, in this menu down here, scrap whole ship types by their type, basically, but it's going to get rid of all of them. So that one you want to be kind of careful about how you use. We do have another colony ship sitting up here we've kind of forgotten about, so I'm going to tap on that. Tap on my fleet screen. Alright, come in. And we'll shoot this one over to Sirius. And whoops. And you'll notice here if I tap on that, only 875 metal left on here, so next turn we should be able to abandon this and free up some more resources. But I'm just going to go ahead and end turn.
Yeah.
And there's the warning. Out of metal. Evacuate. So, text that. Once again, we'll do our, we'll tap on that. Do our little satellite defensive trick. We have a couple around there. Excellent. Go to our world screen and evacuate. Through our news. Now, we had cranked up our savings to accomplish basically one thing, and this brings us to one of the dangers of the game, in that you forget that you set something to accomplish a specific task, and really you only wanted to do it for a few turns, but you got busy doing something else and forgot about it. So you always want to keep going back and checking those screens. If we go up to the money tab here, our savings is still pretty low though, and we are getting pretty close to where we'll be battling other opponents. So I want to crank this up. I want this in the at least in the 300,000-400,000 range. We're getting a decent amount of income in every turn, so it shouldn't take too long to do that. So let's just leave the slider where it is at this point. Hit in turn. Yeah, colonized a planet. Good gravity. Decent amount of metal, and crappy temperature. And it looks like if we zoom out here, that planet's very far away from other systems. If it was closer, like say to one of these clusters over here, I would probably pull this slider and just get all the metal out of it right away, because we're getting close to the point where we'll probably start seeing enemy activity, and I want to start collecting metal as fast as possible before the other players get it. I certainly don't want them to hop into my system and start pulling metal out of it, because that will really put me at a disadvantage. And we've hopped over to Cornlax, and we'll suck the metal off of that and abandon it. And let's just hit in turn, get these ships refueled. Pull that up here, and go ahead and shoot our colony ship over there. And this one's refueled, and we'll send that one over there. And once those have done that, we'll have explored every free planet in our system. And then it's just a sort of a race to see, how fast we can build up our technology and resources before we wind up having to fight other players. Probably no one has hit 10 range yet, so we're still safe for just a little bit, but it's getting close. Let's go down, in turn, and in turn. So that's nice. Good metal, good temperature, so it's a very good planet. And still a little ways to go for that one, so let's hit in turn again. And that's a crappy planet, so we'll just take the metal off of it and then abandon it. And once again, like whoops. So that was interesting. My battery actually went out on my iPhone, so I lost the signal there, but fortunately it auto-saves right before that happens, so we can go right back to the same point here. And for this video, I think that's about all we got here. We'll finish off going in, throwing a defensive satellite around this planet or two. That there. And go over to our world screen. And go ahead and abandon. And hit in turn. So now we've abandoned that. And let's get rid of the world screen here for a second. And let's take a look at our home system here. As you can see, we've abandoned pretty much all the crappy planets except this one. So let's tap on that. See where we're at. It's almost out of metal, so we'll be abandoning that one probably on the next turn. Let's just go ahead and get there. And it's out of metal. And I'll go in, tap it, pull up my ships, leave a couple more satellites, And X out of that. And back to our world screen. And let's abandon that. And as you can see here, another planet has gone straight profit. Again, it's fully, all the metal's gone. We have decent gravity, and the temperature's decent, so it's generating a population, it's generating money. Go back up to our money button up here. And savings is starting to get up there, so we're getting close to the point where I'm going to crank that down a little bit and crank our tech ratings up a little bit. Let's just go ahead and do that. We're going to go back down to the world screen and pull them down, give tech a little bit of an advantage there. And get rid of those screens. In turn, and another planet has just become profitable. Whoops. Now you notice I evacuated that planet, but I neglected to get rid of the colony ship that was on there, so it just immediately recolonized it. So let's go ahead and just scrap that ship. And again, we're going to hit these fleet button right here. And go down to scrap, and tap on it. And now she's gone. And we'll hit intern again. Whoops. And we hit intern, but again we got to evacuate it. So a lot of this game sort of gets into this remembering to do this and remembering to do that. And so we evacuated. Alright. Evacuated that to get rid of that screen. Let's take a look at the money screen again. And again, making a decent amount of money. And set up pretty good. We got a lot of metal.
Let's get out of here.
Well, not a lot, but we've got sort of a high average amount of metal, I would call that. And decent income, and this is just going to start going up every single turn because we're not spending any more money on crappy planets. The only money we're spending is just to fully terraform the good planets that we're already on. So let's get out of that. Get out of our money screen. Oops. And zoom in a little bit here. And yeah, hit intern a couple times here just to see how things pace along. And intern. And intern. And now we'll go back up to our money screen. And as you can see, just in those 4 or 5 turns there that we went through, we jumped up to 71,000. Savings is going up a decent amount. Technology, you know, we're spending a lot of money on technology now because we're not spending money terraforming and mining metal. So these are going to go up fairly quickly. Some of our opponents may already be approaching or at a range of 10, which when we looked earlier is about the distance they're going to need to start attacking our planets. So in this type of galaxy, and strategy varies from galaxy to galaxy, and we'll get into that more in the power user videos where we explore different strategic ideas. And this is sort of the default easy kind of galaxy, so we can see who's in danger. These guys are far enough away that it's probably like a distance of 12 or maybe even 15. Let's just drag over and see. That's a 13. That's a 13. So it's going to take that system a while to get to us. But this one over here should be 10 to 10. And this one's even 9. So we really got to start thinking about defending this area right here, because very soon we might start seeing scout ships or fighters from those planets. So don't want to commit to building a lot of fighters. They take more metal, but I do want to make sure these are defended enough so that if they do get attacked, they don't immediately get taken over, so that I get at least one turn to sort of reinforce them. and I don't have to sort of re-invade them right away. So let's just go in here, hit plus, and crank up to the next available satellite type. Let's go ahead and throw, I'm actually going to put 12 on there, get out of there, and do the same for this planet. Put 12 on there, and yeah, so we're set up pretty good here. Again, we have a lot of money coming in every turn, so our technology is going to go up fairly fast, and we've got all of our planets defended fairly well, or at least the ones that are at immediate risk. So for this video, why don't we end off here, and we'll pick up again in a separate video to sort of see what we do when we start running into other opponents, and what sort of strategic things we need to sort of think about while that's happening. So thanks for listening, and we'll just call this episode 1, and I will post another one called episode 2. We'll see you later. Bye.